Oh, I found my headphones as soon as it ended.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Dylan, Ed, Ross, say sports. Dylan Sanders at Dilly Sanders on Twitter. Ross Jackson at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter. Very glad to be here with everybody. Thanks very much for taking the time to join us here on Full Press Coverage, Full Press Radio Network. It's going to be a short show today, but we have a lot to get through. So, Dylan, why don't we dive right into do you have a favorite thing from Twitter? I know what mine is.
What is your favorite thing from Twitter?
My favorite thing from Twitter has been everyone falling in love with that throw from Zach Wilson today.
Oh my god. I don't know what you're talking about because I have muted Zach Wilson's
like with an apostrophe S.
Yeah, with an apostrophe S and Pro Day. So
he got so mad he muted all pro days.
And got so mad that my camera just
oh my goodness
broke.
I like how it had like a little sneak peek at your nose and that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, everyone kind of going crazy over the Zach Wilson, the one Zach Wilson throw that was like good but not phenomenal. I don't think.
No, and Ross, there were plenty of. I watched a little bit of it, and there were plenty of throws that were not that impressive. And downright worrying how some of them were wobbly, and so it just was not a great day. I don't think personally.
Yeah,
but everyone doesn't care as long as he's breathing. Ross, he is a god, and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, so that's been my favorite thing for Twitter to track throughout the day. That's been very funny. That and the reactions from a very busy draft trade market today with 3 teams getting involved with that. We'll talk more in detail about that in a moment. But do you have more in terms of your favorite thing from Twitter today?
I think my favorite thing from Twitter is still just Naomi Osaka and Corday's relationship. I think they're the best couple. My favorite couple.
Yeah.
This is a great one. This is a great post. It was Naomi Osaka. It was a picture of her and Corday, and it was just a appreciation post. This was after right after winning the U.S. Open Finals, which flex. He stopped everything he was doing because I FaceTimed him a couple days earlier and said I was feeling sad and lonely in the bubble. I later found out that he hopped on a plane shortly after that call and then quarantined himself a couple days in a hotel to see me and support. The funniest part is, even after doing all of this, I'm still convinced he doesn't understand the rules of tennis, which, great post. And then Corday in the comments section, and one. And then, that was his response.
That's so good. I love the idea of him like being in the crowd and just like shouting things that don't apply to tennis at all.
It's like that scene from Coming to America where they go to the basketball game and it's halftime, and he goes, "Wow, yeah!" And like, it's halftime. It's like, this is my favorite part of the game.
I need to watch the second Coming to America. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I can't wait for Coming 3 America.
It's gonna be wild. All right, performance of the day. What do you got for performance of the day today?
Comic books is my
cool
performance of the day, because last night we got Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
right?
Episode 2, and then also a show I've been waiting for finally came out last night. The first episode, Invincible.
Yeah.
It is by the guy. It's by the guy who did Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman. And then Ross, let me read you off this cast list.
The cast is incredible. When you showed me the video last night, I was like, wow. Like
Sandra Oh. Yeah. Shout out to Sandra Oh.
Sandra Oh. I was done right there. Like that was it for me.
Say J.K. Simmons, Stephen Yeun, Zazie Beetz, Walton Goggins, Gillian Jacobs, Jason Mantzoukas, Kevin Michael Richardson, Zachary Quinto, Andrew Rannells, shout out Broadway.
Shout out.
Mark Hamill, Seth Rogen, Nicole Byer, Mae Whitman, Clancy
Shout out
Brown,
Nicole Byer. She's hysterical.
Jonathan Groff, Mahershala Ali, John Hamm, Ezra Miller, Chad Coleman, Lenny James, Reginald Vell Johnson.
Reggie.
Saniqua Martin Green, Justin Roiland, Lauren
We
Cohen.
get it. We get
Insane.
it. It's a very good cast. It's an insane cast.
My favorite thing is that Reginald Vell Johnson is in it, and the school is Reginald Vell Johnson High School.
I love it. Reginald Vell Johnson's one of those people I have stories about, but I'll have to tell you at another time.
Yes. So everyone, I would recommend they drop the first 3 episodes of Invincible on Amazon Prime. Do not watch it if you have a light stomach, because this series is known for being very, very, very violent.
Oh, good.
And watch it until the end of the first episode, and I guarantee you'll be hooked.
Great. I love it. Are you doing reviews for anything over at Bench Corner?
I'll probably put up Falcon and the Winter Soldier one tomorrow.
Dope. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, let's get into the NFL, right? Big news in the NFL with a lot of trades throughout the day today and a lot of movement on your draft boards. So everybody head over to the mock draft simulators because things are very different than they were when we started off the week. So basically what you need to know in terms of the first round of the NFL draft is that now the San Francisco 49ers will be selecting at pick number 6. The Miami Dolphins will be selecting at pick number, where are they now? Oh, these moved around so much. I've already lost it. I can't remember how all these trades went. Okay. So the Miami Dolphins are going to be selecting, where's my thing? Here we go. Miami Dolphins are going to be selecting at pick number 6. The San Francisco 49ers have moved up, and then the Eagles moved back. That's the way that this all went down. Woof. Sorry about that. Okay. So the first thing that we heard was the Dolphins trading back with the 49ers. The 49ers will now select 3rd overall, and the Dolphins have moved back to 12. But then they traded back up with the Philadelphia Eagles to get up to pick number 6. So the 49ers now at 3, the Dolphins now at 6, and the Eagles now at 12. Dylan, as our draft expert, what does this now mean for the NFL draft and for these 3 teams?
It means that the NFC is going to have to deal with Justin Fields in a San Francisco 49er uniform, and that's scary.
Very scary.
Very scary. And I want to dispel, they are drafting Justin Fields. Kyle Shanahan and Justin Fields have been working together for years in the offseason, Ross. I don't know if you know that, but they have been working together for years. And it's going to be him. And apparently the Eagles were going to trade up to 3, but they would only do that for Zach Wilson. And they got the impression that Zach Wilson is going to be a Jet. So they didn't make the trade.
Okay.
Yeah. So now San Francisco trades up to 3 to get their guy, Justin Fields. And they would not make that trade this early if they did not think that their guy was going to be there.
Right.
So I think now the draft starts at 4, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With what the Falcons are going to do. I think the first 3 are set in stone. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's going to be... So what do the Falcons do at number 4? Do they go with Trey Lance if we go 4 quarterbacks in a row?
I mean, if I was them, yeah, probably. Because the way that they restructured Matt Ryan's deal, they can cut him and save a lot of money next year. And then you would get this year of Matt Ryan and then Trey Lance to sit behind for a year, which I think will benefit Trey Lance's game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's very little correlation between most quarterbacks coming into the NFL, sitting for a year and starting right away. But you do get the feeling that Trey Lance needs some time.
Mm-hmm.
You do get that feeling for sure. But look, if he's going to be good, he's going to be good. It's kind of that simple. All right, so that'll be interesting. At number 5 will be the Cincinnati Bengals, and we seem to be going toward the idea of them taking Penei Sewell, which is kind of sort of what we expected. But considering they've done nothing to address their offensive line, nothing substantially to address their offensive line this offseason, that would still make sense for them.
They'd better pick Penei Sewell.
Oh,
I mean, listen, you're picking at pick 5, and in this draft, because of how the quarterbacks fall, you're going to get a great player, and you'll be fine. And then if they don't pick Penei Sewell, it won't be the end of the world, but they should pick Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
Who is arguably the best player in this class. Him and Trevor Lawrence, for me, are not very far apart.
Yeah, that's going to be the big, or that has been a big conversation so far, as like which one of them is actually the best player in the draft. And if you adjust for position, it's Trevor Lawrence. But if you look at them actually as football players, there's a really, really good argument in favor of Penei Sewell. For sure. Anything else we need to cover in the NFL for today? We did have a handful of signings.
Also, Ross, we got to mention the fact that the Dolphins did trade back to number 12, but they also traded back up to number 6.
Yes.
And the Eagles traded back to 12.
Yeah. So continue then along with the original question, which was, what does this mean for these teams?
Means the Dolphins are going to trade back, gain a first-round pick and some seconds, and get their guy.
Whoever their guy might be, which I hope is Jamar Chase, perhaps.
Yes, or Kyle Pitts, maybe.
Or Kyle Pitts, yeah. Because now you've got 5. You might be able to predict the top 5 players at this point.
Yes. Do you want to hear the Miami Dolphins draft picks for the next 3 years, Ross? The first 3 rounds of the next 3 years.
Yeah.
All right. So in 2021, they have pick number 6, pick number 18. And then they have 2 second-round picks, 36 and 50, and then a third-round pick at 81. Then in 2022, they have a first-round pick from San Francisco, a second and 2/3, one of them from San Francisco. In 2023, they have a first-round pick from them and a first-round pick from San Francisco, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick.
How do they already have a compensatory pick in 2022 that hasn't been awarded yet from San Francisco?
I have no clue.
How does that even work?
I have no clue.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, yes. I mean, you're essentially looking at this team that next season has 5 top 100 picks, and for the 2 seasons after that may have at least 4 top 100 picks as well. So, going well, going well for the Miami Dolphins, and that's after they also traded back up, which is kind of wild.
It's absurd. Okay. I need to check my settings because I'm still seeing Zach Wilson tweets, and I know for a fact that I muted those things.
Are they spelling Zach wrong? Did you block out ZACK and CH?
No, they're not spelling it wrong. They're spelling it right, and it just hasn't been muted.
Twitter is not on your side today, my friend.
It was only from people I don't follow. It was set to only people I don't follow. I do not know why that's the case.
You're like, get me out of everything Zach Wilson related.
Also, for anyone who watches anime, I also have the words JoJo and Bizarre Adventure muted.
Sure. What about the we were wrong? You want to talk about what we were wrong about?
Well, we were extremely wrong. Oh, the NBA trade deadline was fun.
It was fun. A lot more moves than I expected. I expected it to fall flat on its face, just like it usually does. It did not. It did not disappoint.
Yes, as Zach Levine put it, Zach Levine, the Bulls got a big trade. They got Vucevic. Interesting quote from Zach Levine. We appreciate our former teammates, but we got a lot better. I'm extremely excited.
Here's what I like about that statement, though. He was very honest and he was very upfront about both of those measures, right? To be like, listen, we love those guys, but we got better. Like I think that's great. I think that's a really great approach, as opposed to, and you never know. You never know. Look at Michael Brockers. Look what happened to him. You never know. You might end up on the same team with the people you talk trash about once they're traded away.
Danny Ainge today, not Danny Ainge, Andre Drummond today agreed to a contract buyout as well.
And he was a big buyout candidate if he didn't get moved. So that's not a big surprise. The Houston Rockets got a deal done. Are you happy? Are you sad? Victor Oladipo gets traded away?
Blah. Ross, this is all worth it if the Rockets end up with their first round pick, which would be a top 4. If they pick up the top 4, it's all worth it. Because the Victor Oladipo trade in the first place was meant to be all right, we'll see if we can save the season.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't.
Right.
So then they traded him. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen, who the Rockets got in the James Harden trade, and then immediately shipped off for other things, namely Victor Oladipo.
Right.
The good thing is now that they would be stuck to Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert long term.
Mm-hmm.
Now they tried to stop the season. They couldn't. Then they're not stuck in that position. They can get rid of it, save the money, move on.
Right.
And still now hopefully end up with a top 4 pick. This is the first time I'm like really invested in the NBA lottery probably ever.
Yeah.
I gotta be real. And now I'm interested. I can't wait. I feel like a Pelicans fan, you know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Pelicans, we have a question in the chat. What moves do you think the Pelicans missed out on, and what players did you hope get traded? I didn't really have anybody that I had hoped would get traded. I think Dylan and I were both very much on the board of like we didn't think Alonzo Ball was going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. He shouldn't.
He shouldn't have. And I thought the fact that they did trade JJ Redick was a win for them because they were on their way to a buyout. So to get something in return for him, even if it's really just going to be that second round pick, because one of those other two contracts might end up being a buyout anyway. If they even just get that second round pick, it's kind of like the Malcolm Brown situation, right? So where like you got rid of the guy, you sent him somewhere, you give him an opportunity elsewhere, but then you got something in return.
I feel bad for JJ though. And Josh Hurt was also upset on Twitter about it.
Yeah.
Because the main thing he wanted to A, compete for a championship, and B, be closer to his family. Mm-hmm. So he missed his family. And then so what do? They shipped him technically further, if not adjacent,
a little
bit more west, away from New York, and to a non-championship competing team.
That's like the good faith question is pretty big there, right? Like that sucks for JJ. And so we hate that. And hopefully he'll talk about it at some point on Old Man in the 3. So we can hear a little bit about it. But yeah, that was not the greatest move by the Pelicans. In terms of what moves they missed out on, I guess hard to tell, right? Because we don't know the market. We don't know like who they had access to, who they didn't have access to.
I would have loved an Evan Fournier type player from them who went for 2 seconds.
Sure. Yeah. And they certainly had the ammunition to do that, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they weren't involved in the conversation. Doesn't mean that the team didn't want to do that, right? The other team. But yeah, I mean, that would have been a nice move for them, but we don't know what was actually available to them.
Similar to the Dolphins, Ross. Over the next 7 years, the Oklahoma City Thunder, Ross. I don't know if you know this number. Over the next 7 years, they have 17 first-round picks and 17 second-round picks.
That is a lot. Over the next 7 years?
Yes.
So more than 2 a year.
Yes.
Of each of those.
17 firsts and 17 seconds.
Wow. They should be trading a lot.
Well, they traded for all of them.
Yeah.
They will be trading a lot. I mean, hopefully one of those doesn't convey because it is the Rockets' first round pick this year.
Sure.
And once again, if it's outside of the top 4, the Rockets don't get that pick.
Woof. So you're rooting for that. You're rooting for the lottery. I think we got time to hit one more big story here. Anything else that we should cover from the NBA trade deadline in terms of other big moves that took place?
There's this quote from Gil Brandt.
That's
interesting about Justin Fields.
Okay.
And one name came to mind for half of it. Justin Fields is all over the place in terms of where teams have him placed on their boards. Highest I've heard is top 5. The lowest, round 4. And I did not know Bill Polian was still a GM.
What?
Round 4 on Justin Fields, Ross.
Okay. All right. Gil. I mean, I can't say that we can't say he didn't hear that.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably not wrong. He certainly heard that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have tweeted it. But like, whoever that team is that has him as a round 4 prospect that's pretty tragic.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty tragic. Going back to the Thunder, that's the way to rebuild. Teams like Houston should look up to that.
Listen, the Rockets don't. The Rockets don't have what the Thunder have because they traded that to the Thunder. So now they don't have the option to.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, Ross, they do have the control of the Nets draft for the next 9 years.
That's true. So they grab control of one more team's draft.
Yeah, for the next 9 years. So
yeah.
That's a good trade-off, I would say. And also the big thing about that 9 years, Ross, is that those picks are all unprotected.
Right.
So if something does happen in the Nets franchise, say in 2 years after they win a championship, James Harden decides to come back to Houston.
And then Houston trades him again to grab control of another team's draft.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like eventually, like Harden leaves and Kevin Durant is probably out at some point, and everything.
And Kyrie is doing
trying
something
to prove the Earth is flat or whatever, and so like he's gonna be busy somewhere, and so but like there is a reality in which they actually do get an opportunity here off of the Nets draft that is akin to what
is afraid of. Do you think Kyrie knows that the joke about? Do you think Kyrie knows that the joke about people's careers falling off the side of the earth whenever they start to go bad is real? It's a real threat.
It's an actual threat for him. He's like, oh no. Who knows? NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments continue on. Big game for the Iowa Hawkeyes and the UConn Huskies in the women's championship. That is going to be, or women's tournament, excuse me. That is going to be a huge matchup. You get a pair of stars over there going at one another. I'm taking UConn in that matchup because I just believe that, like, you have two very good young players there in Caitlin Clark as well as Paige Buchers. But when it comes down to the rest of the team, it feels like UConn has more of an arsenal there and a supporting cast there than what the Iowa Hawkeyes have to offer. But I'm not about to sleep on the Hawkeyes. I'm just picking UConn.
I'm going Hawkeyes. Let's go.
There you go.
Let's bring it. Let's bring it, Ross.
I love it.
I did a women's March Madness bracket.
Same.
Mine is at 92.7%.
I'll have to go look at mine. I think mine is at like 80-something%. But UConn is still there. Who I have winning the championship.
All but 2 Sweet 16 teams.
Nice.
The 2 I don't have are Gonzaga and Rutgers, who I already had losing in this round. So
I had Rutgers losing too. So I hear you. And then over with the men's tournament, quite a few important games coming up there as well as they enter their Sweet 16. You have a couple of surviving number 1 seeds, which would be you've got Baylor, of course, you've got Gonzaga. You look at all of these matchups that are coming up. I think the one that I am most excited about is a 1 versus 5 matchup, just like the UConn and Iowa Hawkeyes matchup over in the women's tournament, Villanova versus Baylor. That's what I'm really excited about. And I'm also pretty and you also have 1 seed Michigan that moved on as well. But I'm also pretty excited about seeing if Oral Roberts can knock off Arkansas 15 seed versus number 3 seed there.
I'm rooting for Arkansas.
Yeah, you have to.
This is one of the few times I'm rooting for another SEC team or B, a higher seed team, because I don't like Oral Roberts.
I hear you.
Hear you. Lastly, Ross, before we go to break, I want to tell you that there is one free agency visit happening right now that I did not see coming.
Yeah, go for it.
tight end Eric Gilbert is in Baton Rouge on a visit to LSU.
Oh my goodness, the saga continues. The saga continues. Y'all, we're actually going to wrap up early here today. We'll be back on Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern time for more here on Dylan and Ross Say Sports. Dylan, anything else before you got to go Tigers for Eric Gilbert?
Go Tigers, baby.
I'll see how it goes. Y'all, we appreciate you very much, and we'll see you on Monday at 5 p.m. Here on Full Press Coverage, Full Press Radio Network. Another episode, Dylan and Ross Say Sports. For Dylan Sanders, I'm Ross Jackson.